this is the final. Tony Stark versus Darth Vader. So we're saying for certain that Tony Stark does not have his full Iron Man suit.
Does not have the full Iron Man suit. But Darth Vader is basically wearing an Iron Man suit.
So here's the thing
His
about
body is
Tony
an Iron
Stark
Man suit.
versus a Jedi
Yeah.
compared to like other superheroes. I know we had the Spider-Man Luke Skywalker. That was how this whole debate started. The thing about Tony Stark versus a Jedi is you see scenarios where not the Force, but Tony Stark is in Force-like situations where he's
up against beings with telekinetic abilities.
And he is still able to mentally shoot off his Iron Man. So if he doesn't have his suit on, but he has a glove on, he can hit. When Darth Vader goes to Force choke him, he can get himself out of a Force choke. This is the first real fight versus a Jedi that we've seen somebody be able to get out of a Force choke to prolong the fight.
And I'd like to say the original Darth Vader matchup from earlier this year was Darth Vader versus Batman. And that's really the difference between Batman and Tony Stark is Tony Stark for sure has a Neuralink capability, and that's just not something, even with Batman's gadgets, he doesn't have. And when you also consider,
though, even when Batman has his fancy eyeballs on his mask, it's still not Jarvis. Like, Jarvis will give Tony Stark the ability to, again, find, like you talked about, find Darth Vader's weak points, which is obviously going to be his mask, and potentially expose them. Now, again, if Tony Stark slips up for a second, he dies. But true. Tony Stark also has a little bit of that Hagrid in him that we see when, he's faced sometimes with life or death situations. When he's put in those scenarios, he can kind of become even more superhuman than he already is through like emotion, right? And Darth Vader is somebody who we know can get overly emotional, which can lead to him being weakness. Tony Stark will not be afraid of Darth Vader. Darth Vader will be overly convinced that Tony Stark should be afraid of him. And it might do, again, this leads for an opportunity for Darth Vader to take his foot off the gas a little bit. And it could, like, if Darth Vader knew that this was a championship matchup, he wouldn't just want to win. He would want to embarrass Tony Stark. Whereas Tony Stark would not be afraid of him and would understand that he has to take every opportunity he can just to land body blows, right? Land body blows, do damage until you can land that kind of final punch. What do you think?
Well, some of that I don't think I could have said better myself. Another factor, Tony Stark, obviously, he's got something to fight for. Darth Vader doesn't have anything to fight for.
No, that's what I mean when you talk about that kind of fight or flight.
What you said about Darth Vader's emotional state, I think, is perfect. That all of that combined with Tony Stark's technical knowledge gives him such a big edge in this fight. It gives him an edge that I would say is equivalent to the edge that the Force gives Darth Vader. So, and because of what we've already talked about, I think that Tony Stark is definitely going to take Darth Vader in this one.
I think so too, and I'm kind of having a hard time saying it. I was getting nervous that I was kind of steering myself the wrong way, but I really think that.
And like his genius level intellect also helps him think on the fly very, very quickly.
Yes. And again, like once Darth Vader comes in, choke, Tony hits him with that first kabat, and it knocks off. Then he gets emotional, and he probably goes straight for the lightsaber and is like, I'm going to go fuck this guy up. And I think that it becomes a very, very big disadvantage. Now, there is one theory before we crown Tony that I do want to ask you. Do you think that Darth Vader using the Force would be able to remove the Iron Man hand from Tony Stark?
For sure. But I don't.
Maybe he doesn't
Tony
think like
Tony
that.
Stark would still be able to use it before Vader would even do that.
Yes, once he gets frustrated, I think once he tries to choke, he gets hit. He then becomes frustrated with the fact that, like, why is this mere human as he sees it? Like somebody who doesn't have the Force, why is this guy able to beat me? Like I'm just going all out.
Mhm.
And I think that his emotions get the best of him and he completely loses sight of, how to kind of expose Tony Stark at his weakest, whereas Tony's whole game plan here is to expose Darth Vader as his weakest.
Sure.
I think it's a Tony Stark win.
It definitely is.
I think Tony Stark is our 2022 Tournament of Champions winner.
He's the champion. He's the champion.
He is the
He's
champion.
The 2022 champion. I can't believe that a Jedi did not win this 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
two Jedis in this fight too. Come on, Andy, you can do it. Crown him.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Let me just tell you, a great Tournament of Champions.
It really was.
Like, great insight all over the board.
There wasn't as many inanimate objects as we did last year. Remember last year the Bop It had a real run.
Yeah, I mean,
There
I
was
think there was just a
more food
lot of
ones for
heavy
sure.
hitters. I think
There
there was
were
a lot of
heavy
heavy hitters.
hitters, that's for
heavy
sure.
hitters. Like, if the Hot Pocket had a more favorable matchup, like if the Hot Pocket could have found Paul Blart maybe
Oh
in
my
a round,
God! It would have wrecked him.
it would have wrecked him.
That's so funny.
Like there's a lot of
Because it wouldn't be the
Capri
first
Sun.
time. Wouldn't be the first time. Paul
I
Blart.
think even Steve Harrington might fall to a Hot Pocket.
I could see an argument for that. Tough to say.
Now, Little Caesar versus a Hot Pocket would be fight of the century. I mean, listen, this was a great board overall.
Yeah.
You don't really get a better board than this.
No, it was great. I just feel bad that it looks possibly even shittier than it did last year.
I might have to
but
disagree.
not bad.
Listen, I mean, the production value on this show has gotten much higher since its start in a lot of areas. We got to stay true to ourselves in some way, shape, or form.